So today I'm going to compare the eufy Omni E25 with the Narwal Freo X Ultra, and as usual I'm going to share what it was like to actually use these in my home with real furniture, rugs, and a dog, and not in a testing facility. A full disclosure, eufy is sponsoring this video. They don't get to control what I say about either model, and they suggested a few competing models in the same price range. I chose the Narwal because I remember seeing it at CES and liking the anti-tangle brush. So let's get going. Okay, so these are both vacuum and mop robots. So my expectations are that they map the entire floor of the house, that they figure out what they need to do, and then go ahead and work based on a schedule. We'll talk more about how they actually perform in these tasks in just a moment, but both have all-in-one base stations and are essentially maintenance-free. So they have a container of clean water, a container of dirty water, they both use detergents, and they both automatically wash the mops when they get dirty. But very soon we're gonna see some super important differences when we look at the mops. Now, when I say maintenance-free, I mean that you still have to add clean water and dump the dirty water, but that's a matter of a few minutes here and there, and you're not really taking anything apart. Now, the eufy claims up to 75 days of base station dustbin emptying. The Narwal takes a different approach that doesn't include the base station. You can select between using disposable dust bags, which they say avoid bad smells and prevent clogging. You also have the option of using a reusable dustbin, and I opted for the dust bag, which has worked great for me, and Narwal says that each dust bag should last up to 7 weeks. Now, as far as the amount of water that each model handles, I found both containers sufficient. The eufy comes with a smaller 600 milliliter container of cleaning solution, whereas a Narwal ships with a 930 milliliter container. Now, we'll talk about the design differences and the mops in just a moment, but when it comes to cleaning the mops, we see a major difference. So the Narwal can only clean the mop at the base, and I couldn't find specifications about the water temperature, but they say that the mop heads are dried at 104 degrees or 40 degrees Celsius to eliminate bacteria and odors. eufy has a unique system that they call HydroJet, which continuously scrubs the roller mop at 360 times per minute while it's cleaning the floor. So the robot has a clean water tank, a dirty water tank, and a scraper blade. So basically the scraper will scrape the dirt off of the mop, clean water with detergent is then applied to the mop, and the dirty water is squeezed out into the dirty water container. And that means that as the Omni E25 moves through your house, it won't cross-contaminate the floor by continuing to clean with a dirty mop. With the Narwal, the mops rotate, but they're not cleaned until the robot returns to the base. And when it comes to washing and drying the mop at the base, the Omni E25 dries the mop at between 95 and 122 degrees. So here's an example with a coffee spill showing the difference in terms of pickup, cross-contamination, and how clean the mop is after it cleans up the spill. You can see that the spinning mops on the Narwal clearly have coffee on them, and the roller brush on the eufy is clean and won't continue to spread coffee. Now, before we get to how the cleaning went, let's talk about some fundamental differences in the design of each robot, starting with the mops. So the Narwal uses two mops that extend slightly beyond the edge of the robot to help with reaching challenging edges when mopping. The E25 uses an 11.4-inch roller mop with a self-cleaning feature that I mentioned earlier. Now, in both cases, there are brushes that are designed to help direct the dirt into the center of the robot. Both use two brushes, one on each side, which is nice. One advantage of the E25 is that one of the brushes is actually installed on an extendable arm, which helps it reach farther out into the corners or under recessed cabinets. Now, looking at suction, the Narwal is rated for 8,200 pascals, whereas the eufy is more than twice that at 20,000, and that makes it significantly more powerful. Now, moving on to the main brush, the Narwal has a single brush design that pushes the hair to one side, and it prevents any tangling, and in my experience, it worked perfectly, and there are 0 hairs or rug fibers on the brush. eufy uses what they call their industry-first retractable duospiral anti-tangle brushes, and they direct the hair towards the center of the robot where it can then be suctioned in. Now, I'm going to very quickly share the performance results on carpet, hardwood, and tiles, but make sure you watch the overall cleaning impressions, which is where we saw fairly conclusive results. When it comes to vacuuming the carpet, both robots did a good enough job for me, with the the eufy seemingly outperforming the Narwal, probably because of that higher suction power. I have different types of rugs around the house. I have a short-haired dog and a long-haired dog, so it's pretty much a perfect storm around here. I know a lot of times carpets can look clean, but they have dirt or hair in them, and that's where that high suction power really comes into play. Vacuuming the hardwood and tile was very good with both devices. The house was noticeably cleaner the next day, especially without that light colored dog hair on dark floors. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the eufy does have higher suction power than the Narwal, and in practice, it performed better with heavy dirt. I also like the extendable arm, which allowed it to reach into corners, so less dust bunnies. We also did a hair test to see how each model would perform. They both picked up the hairs very well, and the anti-tangle brushes on both models did an excellent job at avoiding tangles. For mopping performance, again, both did a good job, and for full transparency, in real life, I'm going to wipe up any serious spills I have before asking the robot to come and clean it. But for the purposes of this review, I did want to test some more challenging conditions. Personally, I love the fact that the eufy is always using a clean mop, which is the industry's longest 11.4-inch roller mop, and that way, if one of the dogs has an accident in the house, or if there is a spill, it's not dragged and spread throughout. It also offers 1.5 kilograms of downward pressure for tough stains. And since the Narwal mops are not cleaned as it's working, it would smear similar messes. Now, I really like that both robots prevent the mops from getting my carpet wet. The Narwal automatically detects floor types and raises the mop pads 11 millimeters and goes into suction only. The eufy can raise the mop up to 10.5 millimeters, and you always have that peace of mind that the mop is clean. I also like that both robots make mopping adjustments based on the type of flooring. The Narwal adjusts pressure, going from a more gentle 7N pressure on wooden floors, which helps protect the wood, to 12N on tile floors for deeper clean. The eufy lets you adjust moisture and suction in the settings. As far as obstacle avoidance and navigating around furniture or getting stuck, aside from what I mentioned earlier, both worked really well. So for my house, other than the fact that it worked perfectly the first time, another meaningful advantage of the eufy is that I didn't need to lift my dining room chairs every time. Now, is that the end of the world? No, but we are trying to simplify our lives, and that's just one less thing that I need to think about. The E25 also has an LED light, which automatically activates in low lighting situations, and that's important to me because I always have these running at night. Noise levels were very reasonable with both, and in both cases, you could use the app to select between a range of suction power to noise level, so that's not really a meaningful difference to me. So setup was super easy with both devices. You just literally take them out of the box, snap on the brushes and the mops if you need to, fill up the clean water container, add the detergent, download the app and pair it with the device, and then you're good to go. The next thing I needed to do was map the house, and there I saw some differences that were super important to me. So both models use a combination of LiDAR, cameras, and sensors to acquire a map of the house, but I didn't get the same results. The eufy was sent on one mapping trip. It was able to map the entire first floor of the house on the first try, and it did so very accurately, which included the interior walls and separating most of the rooms correctly. I did have to make some adjustments, and I was easily able to combine rooms or split them up when I needed to, and that way I got each room set up properly. The Narwal had a bit more trouble. It got stuck in the kitchen under the breakfast table because of the shape of the chairs. Couldn't really figure out why the eufy was able to maneuver past the chairs, but maybe it has to do with the larger wheels, which extend out almost 1.5 inches versus slightly over 1.25 inches on the Narwal. Now I ended up lifting the chairs, and then everything went well on the second Narwal try. Now, as you can see, the Narwal accurately got all of the exterior walls, but none of the interior walls. It also separated the entire first floor into 2 rooms. Now, there was a feature where I was supposed to be able to manually split the rooms, but I found it challenging to get to work, and the best I could do was divide the one large room into 2. I spent like 30 minutes trying to get it to work, but no matter what I did, it would not accept my changes. Now, practically speaking, this isn't super important to me because I would always have it cleaned all of the living areas every time, but I did want to mention it in case that's something that would matter to you. The Narwal app did a good job at detecting carpet, and it allowed me to select what task would be completed on it carpet, but it wouldn't let me adjust the size of the carpets for minor adjustment. The eufy app did not initially detect all of the carpets, but it did allow me to resize and position the carpet locations, which I found helpful in certain situations. Overall, the Narwal has a versatile app, the anti-tangle brush worked great, and the mop worked well as long as there weren't large messes to clean up. The eufy did a much better job at mapping and segmenting the house. It vacuumed very well with the higher suction power. The retractable dual-spiral anti-tangle brushes worked great, and it was far superior at cleaning up messes like ketchup spills. Remember that I have links in the description to all the products that I talked about. Nice, check out this video. Click on my face to subscribe. You know what I always say, buy it nice or buy it twice. Good luck and see you soon.